Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going deep, I mean really deep, beneath the deserts of Iran. We're going to uncover an ancient engineering marvel, something that literally brought life to an arid landscape. But here's the thing. This incredible system, it's now on the brink of collapse.
Just listen to that. I have seen war, I've seen famine, but the worst thing, thirst. To really get this story, you have to understand what's at stake here. We're talking about a place where everything is defined by water, or the lack of it. So thirst, it's not just a problem, it's an existential threat. This isn't about convenience at all. This is about survival, pure and simple.
All right, so let's get into it. For thousands of years, the people of ancient Persia had this huge, timeless problem, right? How on earth do you build a civilization in a place that gets almost no rain? Well, their solution? It was nothing short of genius. They created this hidden network of arteries that literally made the desert bloom.
So what are these things? They're called Qanats. I want you to picture this, a man-made underground river. It's a system that taps into groundwater way up in the mountains, and then without a single pump or any kind of modern machine, it just coaxes that water across miles and miles of desert, right to the towns and farms. It's like this incredible, silent agreement between humans and nature, working entirely on gravity.
And the way it works, the ingenuity is just off the charts. So first, they dig this really deep well. They call it a mother well to hit the groundwater. Got it? Okay. Then they dig a whole series of vertical shafts, kind of like access points. And finally, they connect all those shafts at the bottom with a gently sloping tunnel. And that's it. Gravity does all the rest. It just pulls that water silently through the earth right to where it's needed most. So simple, but so brilliant.
And get this, we're talking about a technology that is 2,500 years old. This isn't some recent invention. The very first Qanats were built in Iran over 2.5 millennia ago. To put that in perspective, this tech is older than the Roman Colosseum, and it's been used continuously ever since. Just let that sink in for a moment.
Okay, so that's the incredible history. But now we have to pivot to a very, very immediate crisis. This is where the story gets real. We're going to zero in on a town called Meimei, where this ancient lifeline, it's just been broken.
So for the people of Meimei and all the little villages around it, the unthinkable has happened. Deep underground, one of these vital tunnels has collapsed. The water has just stopped. And when the water stops, the very pulse of the entire community stops with it.
And the impact? It's immediate, and it is absolutely devastating. A 70-acre rose garden that was meant for export? It's dying. 400 farm workers? Sent home, no job. The farmers growing rice and grapes? They're facing a total loss. People are having to walk their livestock for kilometers, just desperately searching for water. Everything is grinding to a halt.
So who can fix this? All hope now rests on the shoulders of two men. You've got Hussein Ismaili. He's the 57-year-old veteran engineer, the guy in charge of the whole operation. And then there's Mustafa Safari. He's 31, a specialist, and he's the one who actually has to go down into the darkness and fix it. And this is where we get to the most dangerous part of the story. Look, repairing a Qanat, it's not like fixing a leaky pipe under your sink. This is a high-stakes descent into a fragile, ancient world, a place where one wrong move really can be your last. 70 meters. Let's make that real. That's over 200 feet straight down. I want you to imagine standing on the roof of a 20-story building and looking over the edge. That's how far Mustafa has to go down just to reach the collapsed part of the tunnel. And the gear they're using, it's a portable rig. Now, the upside is it's fast to set up, which is absolutely crucial when a whole region is dying of thirst. But it's not entirely safe. So they're making this constant, tense calculation, balancing the desperate need for speed against immense personal risk.
So, in the silent dark, 70 meters below the surface, what could possibly go wrong? Really think about that. You're being lowered into this narrow, pitch-black shaft deep underground. The air gets thin, the temperature plummets, and your entire life is literally hanging by a thread trusted to a rope and a winch.
And then it happens. The moment they were all dreading. He's just 5 meters from the bottom. So close! And the rope goes slack. Mustafa falls. Up top, for a terrifying moment, the crew thinks the worst has happened. But incredibly, he survives. Shaken for sure, but still determined to get the job done.
All right, so after days of just grueling, dangerous work, they do it. The blockage is cleared. But Mustafa's near disaster, it shines a huge spotlight on a much bigger problem. The guys who understand this ancient system, the ones brave enough to actually go down there and maintain it, they're a dying breed.
And the numbers really tell the whole story here. In this one region alone, there used to be something like 2,000 Qanat specialists. Today, there are fewer than 300. That knowledge, that expertise, passed down from father to son for generations, it's just vanishing.
And Mustafa himself, he puts it pretty bluntly. No one wants this job. He says it's a hard, dangerous, nomadic life. It's no surprise that young people are choosing other careers. I mean, who would choose to spend their life on the road, in the dark, deep beneath the earth?
And the personal sacrifice is just incredible. You know, Mustafa's 31 and he's not married, and there's a reason for that. In the local culture, families are really hesitant to let their daughters marry a Qanat worker, because the moment he goes down into a well, his wife is, by tradition, considered a widower, until he comes back up, if he comes back up.
So back in May, the immediate crisis is over, and that's a huge relief. But it's really just one small victory in a much, much larger battle for water, a battle that is defining the entire future of Iran.
So, what's causing this massive water crisis in Iran? Well, depending on who you ask, you kind of get two different stories. The official view often points to things outside their control, climate change, international sanctions, dams built by neighbors. But a lot of scientific studies, they suggest the main cause is actually internal. Decades of poor water management and just plain overuse. And the evidence on the ground seems to back that up. You talk to the old-timers and they'll tell you Qanats that used to have waist-high water, now it barely reaches their knees.
So, let's go back to May. The water is flowing again. And you can just imagine the scene. Total celebration. This wave of relief. They throw a huge community feast to thank the repair team. But for our guys, Hussein and Mustafa, there's almost no time to rest. That very next day, the phone rings. Another call. 2 more Qanats are blocked. Hundreds of kilometers away. The work for them, it never, ever ends.
You know, there's this Iranian proverb that just seems to capture this whole story perfectly. Patience is a tree with bitter roots, but very sweet fruit. And that's exactly what we've seen, right? The waiting, the danger, the unbelievable uncertainty. Those are the bitter, bitter roots. But the return of the water, seeing the crops saved, an entire community surviving, well, that is some very, very sweet fruit.
And all of this really leaves us with one big question for the future. As our modern deep well pumps keep draining our aquifers dry, and as climate change gets more and more intense, is it possible there's something we can learn from this ancient, sustainable system? Could the key to solving our own modern thirst actually be buried in the wisdom of the past?